Every day is the same thing. Me beating up someone on this topic and a new video is made about it. So it's time for me to really put this topic to rest. Who'd win in a fight between Neji and Sasuke? I know I haven't been making videos for a while. That's mainly due to me being lazy, but if you like these type of videos, please remember to like and subscribe. And let's get into the actual video. This fight is narratively implied to be something that would be very interesting for the fans to watch, not because of the similarity in stats or because they are close in strength, but rather it's just the lore behind both of them and their narrative of being prodigies among their clans. So even though I can see where this topic came from and why it's so popular, that doesn't stop it from being any more unfair. So without further ado, let's get into their arsenal and how it will compare to each other. So to start off with, we have Neji, who is famous for being a prodigy with the Gentle Fist. This allows him to directly attack and block the chakra network of anyone he's fighting and halt their movement. Attacks like this ignore conventional durability and will factor into durability negation. We also see Neji boasts a defense such as rotation, which is stated to be verbatim above all of Gaara's sand-based defenses, excluding the sandball because she hasn't seen it yet. His defense has been described to be absolute, and within the series, there hasn't been a single opponent who's been able to overpower Neji's rotation at full power. Now, before you bring up the example of Naruto, we see that Neji's rotation, I should say, isn't really fully formed whenever Naruto stalemates it, right? And this could also just be implied to be a weakened Neji's rotation, seeing as he does rotation multiple times before this, right? And rotation is basically just using large amounts of chakra to form a sphere, so it makes sense that he just isn't at full power here. Neji also has an advanced level of the Byakugan that allows him to see his opponent's chakra network, unlike the Byakugan of people like Hinata. This means that if Neji were to so much as tap Sasuke in their vital points, the fight would be as good as done, and Sasuke would be given the Hinata treatment. Now, onto the last surviving Uchiha, Sasuke. Sasuke has been shown to have a wide range of jutsu, such as the Fire Dragon Flame technique, which he uses to burn off the face of someone like Orochimaru, as well as highly skilled shuriken techniques, which allow him to off-guard his opponents by pulling it back after he initially misses his attack. Though this would be effective on most opponents, I think this would be rendered useless against the attacks from the Byakugan. He also has attacks such as the Chidori, which he doesn't often use right at the start, but when used they can be a real game changer in the battle. So with both of their arsenals out of the way, let's analyze who they fight and how they compare to each other. Neji in his fight against Hinata was so one-sided that I'll only cover it briefly. Not only is Neji fatigued from his fights beforehand, right? We also see that whenever he gets semi-serious, he's able to throw around Hinata, and he hits her so fast that she isn't even aware she's been damaged, and the people in the crowd aren't aware of the fact that Neji damaged her, right? We see there's also a verbatim stated gap between the two of them in terms of skill, right? Whether or not you factor in how fast and strong you are as a part of your skill set, I think it would be, since a skill set is basically just what makes a fighter so good at fighting, right? So I think it'd just be implied that Neji and Hinata have this visible gap in terms of stats. Not only that, but we see that Hinata gets several resolve amps within the fight, and Neji is still able to crush all of her hope. And we see this is just Neji's own narrative of trying to embarrass the main branch of the Hyuga clan. So it'd make more sense that Neji is holding back, as well as implications from people like Conqueror, right, who state that Neji's like a monster who's comparable to Gaara. Right? He also states that Neji is not even showing his full strength, which would just imply that Neji is stronger than people make him out to be in this fight. Now, just to address some common misconceptions before we move on with the later part of the video. I know it is stated that Lee has unrivaled speed, however, I think both of those statements would just be referring to the fact that Lee has this technique, such as the 8 gates, and Guy, who's the person who makes this statement, would be hard to believe that anyone without this technique would be able to surpass Lee in speed. I know this statement is made in reference to weightless Lee, however, I believe this whole point is just Neji has abilities to make himself faster, right? And he's just using them in this fight, and these abilities could just encompass the 8 gates as well, right? So it's just, for example, if someone had Super Saiyan, you wouldn't expect them to lose lose to someone without Super Saiyan because of the lore behind the fact that like Super Saiyan is a technique that makes you really really strong. So Guy could be doing what people, nerdy debater people like me, call an argument from incredulity, where they basically just say because it doesn't fit their expectations, it can't be the case. As well as the fact that Neji doesn't even train alongside Guy at all, right? And the only thing Guy could possibly train him is like his Shuriken Jutsu, which is what we see him train Guy, or you see him train Neji, I should say. Right, because they have two completely distinct taijutsu styles, I don't think he'd be primarily going to Guy for his training. Rather, he could just be going to like people like the Hyuga clan, right? Or he could be training within the Hyuga clan's like compound, right? Since we even see at the end of Naruto, whenever he like everyone's deciding to train, instead of going to Guy, who is a famous taijutsu master, right? He goes to someone like Hiyashi, right? To improve his taijutsu skills, which would just imply that he just seeks like training his own technique by himself or with another member of his clan, rather than just training it with someone who has no knowledge of it. So Guy's statement would not only be unfounded, it would also be a fallacious line of reasoning that he's using, right? As well as the fact that we see Neji is stated during the anniversary guides to constantly train to surpass the Hyuga clan. This would fit into his narrative of training because he wants to become stronger. So whenever people argue that it's just in reference to him becoming more skilled at the Gentle Fist, we know that Neji is a taijutsu user, and taijutsu is mainly encompassed as your speed and strength used to like you do taijutsu. So it makes more sense that Neji is training to become faster and stronger rather than just training to improve his skill at the Gentle Fist, since it's already implied that he knows everything there is to know whenever he's using the Gentle Fist. So yeah, we can just going to move on to his fight against Naruto, right? In his fight against Naruto, we see at the start it goes largely the same way as like as his fight against Hinata does. We see that like he's constantly bullying Naruto throughout the fight, giving him some sort of false hope of like almost defeating him, and then ripping it all away by revealing that he's been using rotation to block all of Naruto's attacks. I think this would fit into Neji's character perfectly, of just like letting his opponent get false hope of beating him and then being able to completely surpass them in the next instance, basically just trying to break their hope or break their spirits, right? So it makes sense that Neji is holding back in most of his fights. So we also see that at the end, Neji is just shown with a weakened form of rotation to be able to block people like Naruto and even overpower his clone, because we see Neji is able to like still keep standing, whereas Naruto has to like hide within the rocks to be able to defeat Neji, right? We even see Tenten states that even after seeing KCM0 Naruto, right, or this Naruto with QB amps, we see that she directly states that no Genin could defeat Neji, which would just imply that Neji is at least superior to this Naruto. As well as the fact that when Neji and Naruto actually clash, we see that Naruto says the word Hokage or displays aspiration to become Hokage, right? This is directly stated to make him stronger than he'd normally be. So it would make sense that this Naruto is just stronger than any other one within the Chunin exams because of this. Now, onto Sasuke's fight against Gaara, right? We see that Sasuke, basically he starts out the fight in terms of weightless levels of speed, right, or weighted levels of speed. He then proceeds to up his speed as Gaara is continuously reacting to all of his attacks, right? And then afterwards he proceeds to up his speed just like Lee does. This is just implied that in most of his fights he wouldn't start out at top speed, which would make sense due to Sasuke's arrogant nature, or it could just be the fact that he's copying Lee's skill, right, or Lee's fighting style. After this, we see he then proceeds to lay down the worst beatdown that I've ever seen someone give to Gaara before, right? We see he's able to completely bypass his defense by just punching him really hard, right? And then this is what he beats him so bad that Sasuke stated Gaara's strongest opponent, right? This statement happens before Konoha Crush, so it just makes sense that like it wouldn't include anyone's feats on him afterwards, right? Because obviously Sasuke isn't stronger than people like Madara, right? So it makes sense that like there are either two interpretations of this scan, right? And the first one is just, oh, Sasuke hits really hard, so that's why he's called the strongest. Or you can interpret it, which would be even worse for any Lee fans in the back, to say that okay, Sasuke is just faster than 5th gate Lee, because to generate AP you also need like speed 2 times by your mass, right? And since Sasuke isn't heavier than Lee, by at least like Sasuke isn't heavier than Lee, then the only thing that would factor into the amount of force he's outputting within his punches would just be how fast he's moving, right? So if you want to use that interpretation to argue that Sasuke is faster than Lee, be my guest, right? But this should just prove that he's at least starts out the fight in way less levels of speed, and then he keeps moving upwards, right? So with both of their fights out of the way, who would really win? Well, Neji would win quite easily actually, right? We see the Neji again should be relative to this Hokage amped, resolve amped Naruto, right? Then we see Naruto proceeds to go on and fight against Gaara. He shakes off all the cobwebs because we see, because of like him and Gaara's similar lifestyle, he's a bit afraid of Gaara. But this isn't necessarily a strength thing, because you see a base Naruto is shown to be contesting with forms of Gaara. We see he's able to get behind him, put a paper bomb on his back and blow him up, right? We also see he's able to like completely bully him with his shadow clones. This same amount of shadow clones was bullied by Naruto, by Neji, right? So we also have knowledge that if anyone wants to argue he's resolve amped, that wouldn't be the case, because you see like Naruto, whenever Naruto is quote unquote protecting someone or has a resolve amp, it's shown in the forms of him having QB chakra as stated verbatim in the data books, right? And they even give the instance of Sasuke of Naruto versus Haku. So it just makes sense that Naruto isn't resolve amped here, and it's just his base normal stats, right? So this base Naruto is just able to contest to the stronger transformed form of Gaara, right? And this transformed form of Gaara has just been shown to be so fast that Sasuke needs to anticipate his movements with the Sharingan to be able to dodge him, right? And then he gets even stronger, Naruto is still contestable to him. And we even see that Sasuke is getting jealous of a base Naruto's strength. This would just imply that Neji is just able to blitz someone like Naruto in base, right? Whereas Sasuke is just in awe at a base Naruto's strength, which should just really show you that there are levels to the tuning exam, right? We also have multiple statements by people like 1010, the date anime guides, and also the data books, stating that Neji is said to be the strongest Genin, or Neji is the greatest out of the Genin, right? So this would just imply that Neji is just stronger than any other Genin at the time, right? And since Genin is a rank that can only be like obtained due to your strength, right? And it's a rank that can only be left if you're strong enough. It just implied that like Neji is just the strongest of all of the Genin, right? So it should make complete sense that Neji is just scales the highest in terms of physical stats, right? And Naruto defeating him isn't a counter to this like statement, because you see that Neji is completely off guard against Naruto, right? So Naruto beats him because of factors outside of his strength. So since Neji is just faster than Sasuke, right, because of his feats on Naruto, right, we also see that Neji isn't like, even Neji's like speed at the start of the fight would just be faster than someone like base Naruto, who again is just above Sasuke, right? Since Sasuke takes a while to actually become like weightless levels of speed and higher, it just implied that since Sasuke would just get his chakra points blocked before he's able to get that levels of speed. We also know that Neji holds Sasuke in high regard because of their like his Uchiha legacy, so it makes sense that he doesn't underestimate Sasuke like he does with any of the other people, right? So in conclusion, I think Neji should beat up Sasuke in pretty quick fashion. I think it'd be more of a slaughter than his fight against Naruto, right? Naruto only won that fight because of his high chakra amounts. So, but yeah, if you like these type of videos, please remember to like and subscribe, and have a nice day, guys. This has been Glitch, and I'm out.